Hi, welcome to Speed.Training. I'm Aaron Vasquez here with Chris Berrian, a former track star. How you doing, Chris?
Doing good, thank you. How are you?
Doing okay. Not too bad. Got myself a fresh new haircut.
I see.
It doesn't hide my hairline, so I might
Yeah,
have
you're
to
getting kind of
shave it all the way off and just say bye.
you've done it before, just do it again. It's not bad.
So, just want to get a little bit of background on you, your experience in your sport, the highest level you were able to achieve, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay. All right. So starting off, well, I guess I could start with college and go from there.
Actually, let's take a step back. Um,
Okay.
let's take a step back because I know you were, I guess you didn't get the offers that you probably should have, just because I think, you did have a few. And for those that don't know, I knew Chris, for a while, and we actually were from uh, towns that were right next to each other. So, I knew of him, his brothers. So, um, let's go back to when you actually were really good in football, in Pop Warner football. And I
Okay.
remember always hearing about you, always hearing about Bernard and Tony. And you actually had a pretty bad injury. How old were you when you had your injury?
All right. So when I had my injury during Pop Warner football, I was about 11 or 12 years old. I believe 12 years old. That was in 1995 in November in a All-Star game. So I broke my kneecap. My right knee was dislocated, and I can't remember, but a bunch of ligaments and cartilage were torn, so it was pretty bad.
Now,
And
yeah, how far do you think that set you back as far as the recovery time for it?
it set me back a lot. So I was actually supposed to be out of sports completely for 3 whole years, but I'm pretty stubborn, and I don't like trainers or sitting out or anything like that. So I tried to start back in sports within a year. I attempted to play basketball. Didn't really work out so good. I was always hurting, and yeah, it really made no sense to do that. But leading into high school, when I broke my knee, it was actually in the seventh grade. So going into high school, I tried running track and playing football, and neither one of them worked out. I was pretty much hurt for all of the season, and I just couldn't get back into my natural element. It's pretty tough.
Yeah. So, when did you actually get back into sports full time?
Full time, I would say probably my junior year. Probably got back into it full time. My sophomore year, kind of took some time off. I still ran track, but I took it easy. Took a couple sports off. I didn't do football or basketball, so wanted to try to heal up as much as possible. So I went back at it in my junior year, and it was almost the same thing. I was still hurting pretty bad, still not 100% mobility, but my heart was set, so I was gonna push it to the limits, whatever I can do.
Now, do you remember how you had your injury, what you were doing, what play it was on, or how you were hit?
Okay, it's kind of odd to hear it, but honestly, it seemed like nothing happened. So it was my actual first play at an All-Star game. It was a common sweep. I went to the right side. There's no holes, so I just ran out of bounds. One of the opponents, he just pushed me and just felt tremendous pain in my knee. So I went down, felt my knee, and my kneecap was not there. It was pretty gruesome. And yeah, just for that first shocking moment, felt the pain after that. I don't remember feeling anything. Probably went in the shot, didn't realize it, but it was pretty bad. But I
Okay.
think I actually had the injury in all-star practice because I did notice that my knee was swollen and it was very stiff and it was hurting. So I probably just re-injured it in the all-star game and didn't realize it.
Okay. Now, you said your junior year, you got back into everything. Your senior year, go ahead and I guess what were some of the what events did you run in track, and I guess what were your times if you can remember?
Okay, my senior year, I was only doing track and field, and I was mainly a 200-meter runner, and I was also doing the 400 meters, and of course 4x1 relay and 4x4 relay. And PR for the 200 that year, I went 21:68, which is pretty decent. It's not great. Got me to the section meet, but I believe I got fourth or fifth place, so obviously that doesn't make it to the state meet. In the 400, I went, and this was a hand time, wasn't electric. I went 49 flat, and that's the best I got in high school, 400 meters.
Okay. Do you remember any of the guys in that finished in their section meet in your section meet that were ahead of you?
For the 200, the only two people I can remember because they were number one and two in the state just happened to be in my section. They were Maurice Dostie, he was number one, and Rodney Landingham from
One of the
Sonora.
twins. One of the
One
twins,
of the
right?
twins. You remember
Yeah.
the twins,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So those were the one and two people in the state.
Do you remember what happened to them? What college they went to and how they did?
As far as colleges, Rodney Landingham, I'm not sure what college, but I know he went on to play football, and I heard that he did pretty good. And Maurice Dostie, he, I think he had bad grades, kind of washed out. He actually tried to get on with Fresno State while I was there, and actually while you were there too, at the Reno meet that you fell in. I remember that meet. It was the very same meet, and yeah, he was just having hard times with his grades and everything, and from that point on, I didn't hear of him doing anything, nothing from junior college or any other universities.
Okay, now how can you describe the now were you a walk on at Fresno or were you recruited?
I was a walk-on.
Okay. Describe that the whole the walk on process. For a lot of people that don't understand it, it is there is a big difference from actually being recruited and then being a walk on that people don't necessarily want.
Right. So yeah, as far as a walk-on goes, you're not recruited, you're not receiving any money. Basically, you're going to the university or school, whatever it may be, and pleading your case to get on the team. So they haven't necessarily acknowledged you as an athlete. They don't know anything about you. So you have to go in and tell them and show them who you are. You make a spot on the team. That's good. If you do good enough, work hard enough, and show some good results, then that can lead to you getting some scholarship money. And that's what happened with me. So eventually, I started doing good enough to where the coach awarded me some scholarship money. It wasn't a full scholarship, but it was scholarship money nonetheless, and I was willing to take it.
Okay, now was there any other were you marketed to any other schools by your track coach or your parents or anything?
Atwater High pretty much did nothing. We didn't really even have a coach. So at the time, my senior year, I was the coach because the coach that we had, he kept going back and forth to a new school at the time called Buhat Colony, and he was trying to get a job over there. So he would leave practice and pretty much leave practice up to me. And just because I was fast doesn't mean that I can coach a high school team. And that's pretty much what happened. So yeah, the year just wasn't good to begin with. And yeah, no schools other than Stanislaus looked at me. So Stanislaus actually tried to recruit me, but I chose the other D1 school, which was Fresno State, and chose to walk on with them.
Okay. Do you feel that the schools should be responsible for help for recruiting you or the coaches or for helping to really get you looked at by other schools?
I believe so. I don't think it should be 100% on them to do it, but they should have a bigger role in, a student athlete's recruitment. They should be telling the student athlete, these are some programs you can look into, these are some scholarships you should apply for, these are some colleges that you can be looking into. But at Atwater High, I didn't receive any of that. And I know that kind of hurt me. I was a fairly decent athlete at the time, I could say, and I feel that I could have been recruited by a number of colleges, even some D1 schools, but I didn't receive any of that. And I've actually talked to quite a number of high school athletes and told them myself to look into things like that. Go to their counselors and ask them, make them tell them, you know, what colleges are good, what programs are good, academic programs, athletic programs, so that they could choose their schools wisely and not just go into a certain school because they like the colors or they feel that was my favorite team. No, look into academics and athletics and choose from there. So counselors should be more proactive in that situation, which they're not.
And I know from where I'm at, I'm in the LA area, so there's a lot of schools, a lot of colleges around. And I know that the area that you're in, the Central Valley, there's had Fresno State, and then you'd have to go all the way up north to, I believe, San Jose State.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and I know that with the amount of schools that are in between there, there wasn't a whole lot of colleges going out to look at other players, different things like that. So I know that's how has that changed? Is it still pretty much the same?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. I haven't seen any changes. Even when I was coaching briefly at Bullard High School up in Fresno, and going through the same thing with those student athletes, it still seems like it's pretty much the same. Schools or certain counselors or academic advisors, they pick and choose, their favorite students to which they want to pursue and, help them along the way, but that's not helping everybody. So
Yeah.
I could say it's pretty much the same. And my brothers can even, vouch for the same thing. Of my brother Bernard, same thing happened with him. His high school coaches didn't do any recruiting for him, didn't help him out in any way. Basically, that was him and my father, that shopped him out and eventually landed him a full scholarship to Fresno State.
And that's actually the same thing that happened with me. My dad actually was the one that contacted Fresno State and had them, and this was in a little before August. So about
Hmm.
it was literally, I think, 2 weeks or 3 weeks before school was supposed to start. And as far as I knew, I thought I was going to Merced Junior College,
Right.
and and my dad got a meeting with Coach Fraley there, and we were able to meet and talk, and that was it. To me, I mean, it ended up being it was that close to when school started. So a lot of kids don't know, and a lot of the parents don't know that you can get a hold of these coaches. You can go, beauty of the internet now. You can actually go to all these websites. You could send them an email. You could send them a link to a YouTube page or send them all kinds of things now. So I don't. I try to tell the athletes that I used to coach, hey, call them, send something
Right.
to let them know that you exist, because if there's thousands of kids out there that they're going to look at, and then there's going to be tens of thousands that they won't. So you want to
Right.
really just get out there and be seen, or else you're going to miss out. And these
Exactly.
people miss out on having quality athletes such as like yourself, that they can have to really build an excellent program with.
I agree. 100%.
Now, I know your older brother Tony was different. He actually went to Arizona State, right?
Yes.
Now, how was that different for him?
So with him, well, the big difference with him was he was one of those high school phenoms. So he didn't have any trouble finding a college. Basically, they came to him and he pretty much had his choice of wherever he wanted to go. So he was number 2 in the country in the 400 meters. Um, Ended up getting a full scholarship to Arizona State. That very next year, his freshman year, went to junior nationals and won junior nationals. So yeah, his talent pretty much got him into college. He didn't have to have that much of help, but still, none of his counselors or teachers or academic advisors did anything for him. They pretty much, left it up upon him. And, I still don't agree with that method that they're doing, but thank God that he actually had enough talent to get himself into college.
Yeah. Now, and you mentioned that with Bernard, your dad had to contact the school and basically get him looked at.
Exactly, but it was in a different sense. This was for basketball, and I still say to this day, as good as he was in football, he's a better basketball player than he is football. So,
Except now
of
he's
course
probably
he
not
would,
getting out, right?
yeah. So, so he's a good individual, but the team wasn't a good team. So, of course, no one looked at them, and of course, the coaches, academic advisors, counselors, whatever you want to call them, still did nothing for him, even though he was a tremendous talent. And, the same thing, my dad, he had to pretty much call all around to different universities and shop him out, but, nothing really helped out. And because he was as good as he was in football, that's pretty much what they wanted. They wanted him to go and play football and not basketball.
So I know at Fresno State, like he probably wasn't was swayed not to actually go to basketball, right?
Exactly.
They didn't like two sport athletes there.
Not at all. Not at all.
So describe your first year at Fresno State being a walk on. What events did you do, and what was your time difference?
Okay, so walking on to Fresno State first year, I was a 400-meter runner primarily, and got to do the 200 at times, got to do the 100 at times, and hate the 100, don't like it at all. But 400, I believe I improved to 48.5, so which was pretty good for me since not having a coach in high school really, and coming out there and improving a second and a half in 1 year. That was pretty amazing to me. Still not a good time, but a decent improvement for me. And in the 200, I stayed about the same time, 21.6. And 100 meters, can't really remember. I think it was a 10.9, something like that. But that was my first 100 meters. Not really a fast starter or anything like that, so it takes me a while to get wound up. And yeah, my first year, not too bad. Got third place at Cal Nevada's in the 200 meters, pretty good. And went to conference championships. Ended up in the finals in the 400 meters and the 200 meters. Not really sure of the places that I got, but did make the finals, which was pretty good for me for my first year.
Okay, now going into I know that you're a late bloomer, I guess.
Right.
Now it probably because you had zero training in high school, and then
Zero.
getting more. I know the coaches at at Atwater and then the high school that I went to, coached multiple sports.
Right.
Ours, I know we had to really do our own stuff as well.
Right.
So going in there, I personally didn't see much gains until I was in college as well. And then
Right.
all of a sudden, oh wow, look at it's funny what a little bit of training can do.
Right.
So going into your next season, how was your times then?
So the times got a little better. I was actually taken out of the 400 for that year due to injuries, but 200 meters I improved to, I believe it was 21:29 towards the end of the season. And 400 meters, didn't get a chance to do the open 400 meters, but in our 4x4, which you were on, down in UTEP, ended up running a 400-meter split of 46.3, which was a huge improvement for me from a 48.5 to a 46.3. That was pretty good, and that's pretty much how that season ended. I was injured most of the season, only ran a few meets, but ended in a 21:29 for 200 and 46.3 4x4 split.
Okay. Now, was it your junior or your senior season when you really started to you really started to improve?
Definitely the senior year. Junior year, still minor improvements. 400 in the open, I went down to 47.7, and 200 meters went down to a 21:08, and just a mediocre junior year. Now my senior year, don't know what it was, but coach brought in a kid down from the LA area, as a 400-meter runner. He got second in the state meet, so we relied heavily on him for 400 meters. So he dropped me out the 4, put me in the 100 and 200, and for whatever reason, I just came into my own again. I felt like, a kid again. Back when, I was running the nationals and, winning competitions left and right. 200 meters towards the end of the season, got down to 20:54 from a 21:08 the previous year, which was a great year. Actually went to the NCAAs in the 200 meter, ended up getting 13th overall. And 100 meters, ended up running a 10:27 for that year out of nowhere. Don't know where that came from, but I was happy with the time and never really ran 100 meters before, so that was good to me. Had a pretty good season.
Now, I know after this you started running professionally, right?
Correct.
Okay. Well, what was your first professional meet?
First professional meet was the end of my senior year. I finished with the NCAAs, ran a all-comers meet right after that, and then from there I went on to the U.S. Championships at I believe it was at Carson, down in Carson at the Home Depot Center, and I did okay, for my first, professional experience. Never been in competition like that. It was a little overwhelming because I got Justin Gatlin in my heat. I got the reigning silver Olympic medalist Bernard Williams in my heat, and I was a little starstruck. But as the gun went off, I realized I can run with these guys. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I think I ended up, I believe, 12th overall at the U.S. Championships, which was still pretty good for my first time on the pro circuit. The time was only about 20.8. No one really ran a fast time because we were running into a headwind. But 12th overall for my first U.S. Championships, I felt pretty good.
So that's so for a lot of people that don't understand, that was this was 12th in as far as all the competitors in the U.S.
Correct. The entire U.S., yes.
Okay. Now, I know, like I said, it's one thing to compete here in the U.S. How was describe your first foreign race and the experience of actually being there? I know it's a lot of these countries do things differently. Some of them are a lot more production, and it's a lot more.
Right. Well, I would like to not think of my first overseas experience. It wasn't too good. I think the jet lag got to me. I got second in my first indoor 200 meters down in Glasgow, Scotland. It was a time of, I think, 21, maybe 21:1, something like that. But of course, not a indoor runner. Never really got the chance due to our indoor season at Fresno State being cut, due to budgets. But wasn't bad. But if I could go on to the next race, which was just a couple weeks after that, down in Aubon, France, which is just outside of Paris. Did really good. I got second place, just got edged out by my opponent, but I ran a 20:68, which was, of course, my indoor PR, which was pretty good for, an indoor season, especially never having the chance to really run an indoor season. But the people overseas, they really embrace you. It doesn't matter who you are, what country you're from. They love the sport of track and field. And being paid just to go race in another country is phenomenal. On top of getting prize money, it's amazing that they just want to see you perform. You got kids, you got adults coming up to you. They don't know who you are, but they know that you're an athlete, and they love you for that. And you get all kinds of love. In the U.S., only place you're really going to get that is maybe in Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, and that's about it. I wish it were different in the U.S., but that's just how it is overseas. They love you so much. They really embrace that sport. Of course, the U.S. got baseball, football, got NASCAR. That's what they love. They don't love track. Not until the Olympics come around, then they want to watch it.
Now, how was your training different from when you were competing at Fresno State to when to professional? Was there anything you did differently?
Well, I started off with my college coach, Fraley, and I got to say he's an old school type of coach. But for me, whatever he did worked. And I loved it. I loved everything that I did. Of course, there's going to be times where you question things, but he's the expert. I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to do what he does, do what he says. And it worked out for me. Now, there came a point in time where I had to start working, and I couldn't be to practice at a certain time. And he pretty much gave me the ultimatum: either you come at 3 o'clock or I'm not going to be around. So kind of had to leave and start practicing on my own in the mornings. And then this coach, I don't know if it's okay to say names. I kind of don't want to drop names.
That's fine. Whatever.
Is that fine? Well, all right, not to bash anybody, but Chris Baptista, he's the coach, the sprints coach at Fresno State currently. He started watching me practice in the mornings and eventually just picked me up and became my coach. And he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. But the thing with him that I kind of started to realize is that he can take someone that is okay and turn them into a just above mediocre runner, sprinter, jumper, you want to call it. He doesn't necessarily know what to do or have what it takes to take someone that's already good and take them to the next level, is what I noticed. So with Fraley, I ran a 2031 injured, and with 4 years with Chris Baptista, I ran 2024. So 2031 injured with my previous coach to 2024 with 4 years with this coach. There's not really, I don't call that an improvement at all. So I feel like I kind of wasted 4 years doing nothing, just wasting time.
Now, what events were you running in those 4 years?
So within those 4 years, still mainly a 200-meter runner, but I trained as a quarter miler, so I would do 400 meters in a few meets. I would do a couple 100 meters in a few meets, get some speed in there, some starting block training, which, I do need because I'm not a great starter. Didn't improve in the 100 meters, ran a 10:29. Not an improvement at all from my college days, and I feel that he does know his technicalities and his mechanics, but just didn't know or have what it takes to take someone that's already good to the next level. So what I did find out, what he doesn't know, is that he actually consulted Coach Fraley for workouts to give me because he was lost and didn't know what to do. So, yeah, you gotta pick your people wisely, choose your coaches wisely. Don't just go for the one that's there. Do your research. Got to do your research.
Yeah, I know that's a big thing. For myself, I ended up getting into more of the training aspect, the coaching aspect of it as well. And my
Hmm.
experience, what I've seen is that athletes will do what they're told,
Right.
regardless of who's telling them what to do. So if you have a good coach, it works out well. If you have a coach that's not as knowledgeable, he's going to tell you to do something, and you're going to do something that may not benefit you. And I see it a
Right.
lot with, guys doing their agility ladder for an hour and a half a day.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I seen to elaborate on that. I seen that firsthand. So there's a runner. I know you know the name Joshua Norman. You know who that is.
Yeah.
Towards my later years with Chris Baptista, Josh came to train with us, and I saw that same exact thing, training for so long on these ladders and warm ups and this and that. And what kind of pushed me away from the sport was that I felt that I got done pretty dirty. So you got Josh Norman, you have myself. He's a 100-meter person, I'm a 200-meter person. He can help me out with my starts, which I noticed, and I could help out with his speed endurance. But when it got to the coach, he seemed to pretty much put all of his focus into Norman, which, obviously was a mistake. I'm younger, a younger, fresher talent. He's, coming up on his latter years of his career. And as far as training went, I was beating him in his own stuff. He's a short sprinter, more so an indoor person. And, we're doing our 60 meters. I'm beating him. We're doing our 100 meters. He's still never beat me in that. And it got to the point, why am I bumping myself down to train with him and him not stepping his game up and training up to the levels that I'm used to training with or need to train with, my 200 meters, my 300 meters, 400 meters, my speed endurance. He wasn't really capable of doing that because, all he would focus on was his warm-ups and his agility ladders and things like that and his 20 meters and 30 meters. We need to run. We need to do some sprinting. That's how you get fast. And I felt that I completely got out of that because I did what my coach said, what you just elaborated on. And, that was at my fault. So I take responsibility for that too.
And I see that a lot now, and it seems like with all these older coaches kind of starting to fade away, getting up in their years and not really doing stuff, I've seen the training become more elaborate, more complex, and the foundation or the basics have really gotten far left behind. And when you look at a lot of these schools that are cranking out really good athletes, have solid programs, their stuff is simple. They're
Right.
they're doing what people consider old school, which is what I consider usually foundations or basics.
Right.
Doing that, and they're able to crank out really great athletes or have a program that's consistent. And I see a lot of coaches are really falling victim to this whole making everything complex, doing
Right.
tons and tons of agility drills when these kids aren't necessarily even strong enough to begin with. And,
Exactly. I
and
agree.
I see it getting worse. I really don't see any change yet in it.
I agree 100%. I've seen the same exact things, coaches trying to get so technical and so mechanical with these young people, and they haven't even fully developed as runners. That's why when I was at Bullard, I didn't even worry about any technical things. Of course, you have to twerk their mechanics a little bit here and there, like, getting their back straight, getting their hips up underneath them, things like that. That's, what a sprinter needs to do. But they're trying to make things so technical, like, with um you having your toes flexed and keeping your hands fully extended or closing them or leaving them in, like a karate chop position, things like that. Kids don't need to worry about that. They just need to run and get better that way. Use their college years, and maybe if they can make it on to the professional scene, use those years for the technique and mechanics to where they're actually fully developed as a runner, and now they can handle things like that. They can grasp some mechanics that are pretty complex and intricate. But I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I liken that too with the baseball. A lot of kids are taught how to throw, curveballs and stuff like that when they're young, leading to injuries. And the body's not really developed. They haven't learned, how to throw that baseball correctly.
Right,
So why throw into these other techniques that are going to just really, cause injuries or slow their development?
right. I agree. So,
So how long? So you ran those 4 years, professionally, and then what happened? What happened after that?
well, what I think happened towards, the last season that I had, improper training just led to too many injuries. My body just couldn't keep up with it, and I think that was the problem. And, I took some time off, figured, I could, bounce back for the next season strong. But as soon as I would start up again, my body just was a wreck, and I couldn't handle it. Anytime I would start something, I feel like I would pull something here. I would take some time off. I would try to come back, feel like I would pull something over here, and it just never worked out for me. And I honestly think that it was due to improper training, which, kids, adults, teenagers, they need to really take a look into that. Overtraining could be just as bad as undertraining. Undertraining could be just as bad as overtraining. But take care of your body. That's key. Take care of your body.
What are some of the I guess what are some of the training tips that you could give, say, a young athlete who's in before he's even in high school? Say they want to play football, they want to run track, they want to play basketball, any sport. Is there any type of advice that you can give them to that'll help them, I guess, succeed?
With that, no matter what sport it is they want to play, whether it be, football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, whatever you want to play, do take some time to look into track, and maybe not necessarily track, but look into speed training because it helps out with so many aspects. And it's not just speed, and I'm sure that you can account to this. You've got your plyometrics, you're working on your jumps, your explosiveness. So, of course, speed and explosiveness and power can transfer into any sport that you can think of. So, I definitely believe in what you're doing as far as speed training. And any athlete, no matter what sport, should definitely look into track and field and or at least some type of speed training.
Yeah, absolutely. That goes into one of the conversations that I had on Facebook with a few people where a lot of the coaches in our area, and I don't know if it's the same in the Central Valley, but they want their athletes to play one sport only, almost year round. And I mean, we've seen a lot of great athletes that you get better by playing multiple sports. Your brother. We look at you look at Bo Jackson. I mean,
Right,
Russell Wilson. I mean,
right.
Kaepernick. All these guys that have played multiple sports, and there's always something I think that you can learn from additional sport, whether it's learning how to control your body more in space, learning how to slow down quicker, whatever it is. And there's a lot of them, the boys and girls sports that are really trying to push these athletes and the parents to play one sport.
Yeah, I dealt with that firsthand. One of my athletes at Bullard, um, her mom, I think she was trying to relive her days through her daughter, and her daughter was a phenomenal athlete, freshman, and she's running 5 seconds flat in the mile. Just a awesome kid, but she wanted to branch off and do the 2 miles. She wanted to do the 800 meters. She wanted to do the 300 hurdles. She wanted to try high jump. She was a taller kid, about 4'7", real skinny girl, but still, she wanted to do these things, and her mom basically hindered her, held her back, only wanted her to just focus on the mile. And me as a head coach, one of my jobs is to find the talent and pretty much manifest upon that talent. I saw that she was capable of doing these multiple events, so I would put her in these events, and her mom would have me in the principal's office, having conferences with her almost on a weekly basis, sometimes bi-weekly basis, and it just got repetitive. Basically, what it came down to is that she wanted to coach her daughter strictly and just wanted her to run the mile, which she was actually great in the 2 mile. The first time I talked to her mom about putting her in the 2 mile, her mom says, no, I don't want her to do that. She probably wouldn't even qualify for any big meets anyway. And so put her in a 2 mile for, distance training, because if you're going to be a miler, of course, you need some distance training. What does she do? Qualifies for Arcadia, one of the top runners for Arcadia. So when I submit her name to Arcadia, then her mom comes back to me and says, well, why didn't you submit her for the 2 mile? Because you didn't want me to put her in the 2 mile. And that's exactly why. So you can blame yourself. You're welcome. And that's pretty much how that went. And same thing with her going into another sport. She wants to play tennis so bad, but her mom is, reliving her days because she was, and Coach Fraley actually knows her. Coach Fraley coached her. She was pretty good in her high school days. She held the Valley record for the 1 mile, and her daughter, her freshman year, smashed it. And she's basically reliving her life through her daughter, and they just controlling her. And it was sickening to see that she could control her so much and influence her to hold herself back. She wants to do these multiple events. She wants to play tennis. Mom won't let her. And I definitely believe she could have been easily a multi-sport athlete.
So, what advice would you give to these parents as far as with their kids and allowing them to, like I said, experience different sports?
Parents, which I experience situations like that, I would just say let the coaches do their job. They were hired for a reason. Just let them do their job. It'd be a different thing if, okay, your son or daughter is getting worse than what they are. They're constantly getting injured, something like that. But just trust in the coach. Let them do their job. They were hired for a reason. Take a step back. You can be involved, but you don't want to be too involved because then you just might ruin your child. A child does not need two coaches. One coach telling them this and another coach telling them that. It's going to screw with their mind and it's going to mess them up in the long run. Or they're going to get completely burnt out and not want to do anything ever again. So just take a step back, sit in the back seat, let the coaches do their job.
Now, what is your experience, or have you heard about this no cut rule that some parent organization is actually trying to push? Essentially, it's anyone that's on these leagues, I guess junior or what are they, JV only,
Right,
will be cut or can't get cut. There's like nobody gets cut.
right. That's actually in effect in the Valley. I had to deal with that. I didn't agree with it because I had athletes out there that just wanted to get out of class, just wanted to take a trip, but I had a smart way of dealing with that. So what I did was, okay, if you're not performing in practice, if you're not coming to practice, you're not going to the meet. And so I kind of flipped it in a way that I can get away with that. So what I would say to their parent or to the athletic director, I would say, such and such hasn't been coming to practices. They've been, ditching practices or leaving or not, trying hard in practices. So I don't feel that they're prepared enough to run in the meet, and therefore I don't want them to injure themselves. So I decided not to put them in the meet, and that's how I dealt with that. But I really think that kids like that should just be cut. Just don't waste your time. Don't waste anyone else's time because that's time I could have put into another athlete that really could have used that time. So I highly disagree with the no cut policy that's going on.
Now, you said that's an effect. Is that just through Fresno, or is it a San Joaquin section
I want to say just Fresno. I can't really speak for San Joaquin Valley, but definitely in Fresno, it's in
for
effect.
all sports?
I'm not sure if it was all sports. Just the packet I received, as far as track and field went, that was specific rule. I don't know if it um, transferred over into other sports, but definitely for track and field, that was in our packet, no cut policy.
Okay. Now, is there any I guess is there any other advice you can give to these kids? You know, really one of the things that we want to do is we want to give every kid an opportunity, especially a lot of the kids that are in the Central Valley that don't necessarily don't get noticed. You know, is there anything that you could tell them to help them get noticed or help them improve?
That's hard to say. Definitely try your hand at multiple sports, but when you do that, give it your all. Don't just, be lackadaisical in this sport just because it's not your thing. Really try because you never know. You just might excel at that sport. Give it your all. Definitely go into another sport and give it your all. You never know what your true talent will be. And you just might be, a Deion Sanders type, a Bo Jackson type, a Colin Kaepernick type. You never know. So just try your hardest in everything that you do. That's one thing that I could say. But definitely try track and field. Try some speed endurance. It really helps.
All right. So let's go ahead and let's jump back to college. Now, how was your college experience as far as balancing the athletic life along with the student life?
It wasn't too hard, but for me it was a little tough just because I do have a learning disability. I'm dyslexic, so it takes me a little more time to read. So I go to class. As soon as I was done with class, go home, eat lunch, go back to practice, go right back home, and hit the books and study till I grasped everything till all my homework was complete and actually understood what I was doing. So it took me a while, on my academic side to grasp things just because of my disability. So it got difficult at times. Grades started to slip every now and then, but I would fight back and raise my grades back up. But it was definitely a challenge for me.
Okay. Now, you graduated with a what degree?
BS in criminology.
Okay. You remember your grade point average, or you don't want to say?
No, at the end I had a 3.0. True story.
All right. Now, were you planning on going back and doing your masters or anything?
I actually do want to go back and get a master's in counseling because, like we talked about earlier, I thought about being a teacher, and basically it seems like they're just there to get these kids through this test and that test and basically how to pass a test. I want to actually give them knowledge and information that they can use in everyday life as far as, say, um, have you thought about college? Have you thought about where you would like to go? Have you thought about, you know, applying for a job? Do you know how to write a resume? Things like that that'll actually help them. I want to give them actual information that they're going to use every day, not just, hey, if you read this, you'll pass that test. That's really not helping them. They need tools that they can use in everyday life. So that's why I would like to be a counselor so I can actually give these kids the information and the tools that they need to succeed in life, not just to pass a test.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I see uh, a lot of kids seem like they're just kind of getting pushed through and not really prepared for what's after high school.
Right, I agree.
Yeah. Now, as far as your athletics, you plan on coming back, playing any more sports? You know, maybe trying track again. What's there? What's in your future for that?
Well, as far as sports, I would still like to try to heal up. Body's still a little bit wrecked, but I'm pretty sure that I'm done with track and field. It would take at least a couple years to 3 years to get back into the shape and the level that I left off at. But I would like to try a certain sport that a certain person has been, beaten into my head, which is rugby. And I definitely do want to try it out. I mean, I do have, my career that I'm thinking about, of course. But, I mean, as far as scheduling goes, if I get on a police department or sheriff's department, I'm going to have 3 to 4 days off a week and plenty of time to get into some extracurricular activities. But definitely, I've watched the sevens. I love it. I loved watching it. It wasn't just like a whole long, drawn out game. It was exciting every minute, and I think I would actually enjoy it. So I would definitely like to try that.
It sounds like you still have some that athletic fire in you.
It is
We'll see
there.
what we can do to kind of help you maybe get going in rugby a little bit more because, like you said, I think with your skills, you'll definitely be an asset for pretty much any team here in the U.S.
But definitely one of the reasons why I've been applying to agencies down in the LA area, so much so Santa Barbara, Santa Clara, a bunch in the LA area, San Diego, just trying to get my name out there. Hopefully, to get a spot out there, and it'd be no problem to get to LA and try my hand at some rugby, at some sevens.
Absolutely, we'll get you out here, help you lose those pounds you've gained.
Oh, I've lost it. The academy kind of took it away from me. So, I'm a little slimmer, about 170 right now, which is, kind of slim for me now. But, when you knew me, I was soaking wet 135, maybe 140. But, yeah, you get that old man fat on you. It happens.
Yep, yep. I'm trying to get that off, but we'll see how it's not working too well for me. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Chris. Hopefully we'll be able to have you on, and maybe we'll be able to, hopefully get you down here and try your hand at some rugby.
I would definitely love it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot, Chris.
You're
All
welcome.
right.
Have a good one.